Yeah, this is an exciting time, beautiful time of year in our great, great Crown King. We have a nice program, lots of special people. I think for some of us, we have, this will be our third year of reading and sharing and being a part of this program. If you'll look at your program for just a minute, we have some sort of order, some semblance of organization, I guess. Anyone who is not on the program after Lewis, please just feel free to come up and read, share your special piece. I asked Gerhard to go first, and I thought I had to assign him a piece, but I guess he's picked out his own. I was going to have him read again Autumn in the High Country, but that's all right. We'll let whatever he's selected go. We have, after our program, we have all kinds of games for the children in the center with prizes, kids. We're going to do a pumpkin walk and fun activities for our young people. This is actually their time. So please, kids, go next door after when the adults are talking. Go next door and enjoy the pumpkin walk and all the other games. Okay? While the adults have a chance to visit.
Right now, right?
Right after the recitation and sharing literature. Okay, so without further ado, I do thank you for coming and supporting Autumn in the High Country. And Gerhard, you're first on the list. And so I hope the light is sufficient. I think it is. We're going to ask you to come forward and share your particular favorite reading. So, okay.
Thank you, Mrs. Boone,
You're
for
welcome.
having us up here. Third year in a row.
Our pleasure.
I like to say a little pumpkin poem. One day I found 2 pumpkin seeds. I planted one and poured the weeds. It sprouted roots on the big long vine. The pumpkin grew. I called it mine. The pumpkin was quite round and fat. I'm really quite proud of that. But there's something I admit that has me worried just a bit. I ate the other seed, you see. Now, will it grow inside of me? I'm so relieved since I have found that pumpkin only grow in the ground. Okay. Now, seeing all the ghosts out there, I have one here Halloween night. It's so quiet outside, the moon is so full, it's after midnight. You decide to go for a stroll. There's a chill in the air, the wind blows cold. Dead things are restless, the spirits grow bold. You quake, you quiver, you're stunned with fear. As off in the distance, the skeletons appear. He rises from the grave, moldy and smelling. You hear your own voice and realize you are yelling. You gather your wits and run through the night, but with an eerie moan, the ghost comes into sight. You turn again, trying to escape. This time, it's a gal in a long bat-wing cape. A witch on a broom flies by overhead. You fall on your knees, your heart filled with dread. Your scream echoes steadily. You're consumed with fright. You should not come out, you poor soul, it's Halloween night. Thank you.
Wadding's not a poem, but actually a song, because Liberty wanted to sing, so you'll have to bear with my voice. Liberty's pretty good at her voice. You ready? Okay. The name of it is She'll Be Riding on Her Broom. She'll be riding on her When she comes, she'll be riding on her. When she comes, she'll be riding on her. She'll be riding on her. She'll be riding on her. When she comes, we'll warm a big black. When she comes, we'll warm a big black. When she comes, we'll warm a big black. We'll warm a big black. We'll warm a big black. When she comes, we'll cook some toads in. Oh, what are we cooking? When she comes, we'll cook a toad in. When she comes, we'll cook some toads in. We'll cook some toads in. We'll cook some toads in. When she comes, we'll feed some ghosts in. When she comes, we'll feed some ghosts in. When she comes, we'll feed some ghosts in. We'll feed some ghosts in. We'll feed some ghosts in. When she comes.
Wise jack-o'-lantern who have seen the haunting horrors of Halloween, or smiles while peering through scared eyes, who look on beasts that terrorize. They see the gore, they see the fright that fills each street on this dark night. The shadows move, then screams and sighs.
Vile vampires.
While vile vampires bring blood-curdling cries. While witches brew with monkey brains, whose spiders fight for scarce remains. Ghosts and goblins start to dance, the dance that puts weird zombies in a trance. They dance the famous monster mash that while acting tough and talking trash. Then mold into a crowd so mean it just gets worse each Halloween. So trick-or-treaters listen well to the
Warning.
warning that jack-o'-lanterns tell. If they come, just run home quick. With these wild guys, it's trick or trick.
I'm going to read a poem by Rudyard Kipling. I asked Mrs. Boone if you did any Rudyard Kipling stories in school, but I guess not. Rudyard Kipling was a writer and a poet from back in the late 1800s and wrote hundreds of poems, short stories. Probably some of the names you'd recognize, Gunga Din, Kim, Rikki Tikki Tavi. These were all stories that he'd written that were quite famous. But this is a little different kind of a poem. Got a lot of ifs in it. In fact, that's the name of it, if. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, You can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same. If you can bear to hear the truth when you've spoken twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken and stoop and build them up with broken tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, must be something like poker, and lose and start again at your beginnings and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings, nor lose the common touch, neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you. If all men count with you, but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and you, which is more, you'll be a man, my son and daughters. Rudyard Kipling.
Thank you.
Devil's Night. Don't go out on Devil's Night. Stay in your bed and keep on going. Little demons and ghouls have their fun, alright, outside on the streets this Devil's Night. You don't want to see the mischief they cause. On Halloween Eve, they run without pause.
Flying and laughing.
Crying and laughing and breaking the laws. You really don't want to see the mischief they've caused. Please heed my words, stay under the covers. Tell your friends, your sisters, and of course, your brothers. Stay in bed, don't even peek through the shutters, or a goblin might spook you to stutters. Just wait until daybreak on Halloween Day, when you know the ghouls and ghosts are away. They hate the daylight, it's no fun. They say so. Please, just wait to trick or treat on Halloween Day.
Youth by Samuel Ullman. Youth is not a time of life. It is a state of mind. It is not a matter of red cheeks, red lips, and supple knees. It is a temper of the will, a quality of the imagination, a vigor of the emotions. It is a freshness of the deep springs of life. Youth means a temperamental predominance of courage over timidity, of the appetite for adventure over a life of ease. This often exists in a man of 50 more than a boy of 20. Nobody grows old merely living a number of years. People grow old by deserting their ideals. Years may wrinkle the skin, but to give up enthusiasm wrinkles the soul. Worry, doubt, self-distrust, fear, and despair. These are the long, long years that bow the head and turn the growing spirit back to dust. Whether 70 or 16, there is in every being's heart a love of wonder, the sweet amazement at the stars and star-like things and thoughts, the undaunted challenge of events, the unfailing childlike appetite for what comes next and the joy in the game of life. You are as young as your faith, as old as your doubt, as young as your self-confidence, as old as your fear, as young as your hope, as old as your despair. In the central place of your heart, there is a wireless station. As long as it receives message of beauty, hope, sheer grandeur, courage, and power, power from the earth, from men, and from the infinite, so long are you young. When the wires are all down, and the central places of your heart are covered with snows of pessimism and the ice of cynicism, then you are grown old indeed.
The first year she was a pumpkin, and she donned a bright orange smock. Her daddy took her trick-or-treating, though she could not walk him. The next year she was a bunny, and on one leg she would hop, while her left ear stood up straight and the other one went flip-flop. Then a bride costume came from Grandpa, a long skirt and a lacy blouse, but she tripped over the terrain, so Daddy carried her to each house. The fourth year brought us Lion King, and she roared both day and night. She was either Simba or Nala. I never could get that right. The next Halloween, as she got dressed, she just kept asking why. If she was in the Supergirl, why couldn't she fly? Her sixth year, she was all in pink, protecting us all from danger, as she kicked and karate chopped as Kimberly, the Power Ranger. When she was 7, she wore a yellow gown. She was beauty, to say the least, insisting that her little sister was the beast. In my heart, I knew the time had come, and this year our walk together ends. She said, it's not cool for Bob to go. I want to walk with my friends. So I'm figuring out what I will say, rehearsing one excuse after another, in case she notices the ghost behind her walked a little bit like her mother. And I still have Halloween to come. My other daughter is only 3. What worries me is when she grows up, who will trick or treat with me? Now you know why we enjoy having you all come by tomorrow night, because somebody told me it wasn't cool for Grandma to go trick or treating by herself.
Halloween fall. Looking around as the noises loom, knowing how close you are to doom. You begin to sweat as the goosebumps flow. You turn to run, but the feet won't go. The roaches crawl across your face. The spiders make their webs of weight. High above.
You tried to
You
scream.
try to scream, but no sound comes forth. The demons have charted the 7th floor. High above, the witches fly, screaming loudly as they pass you by. Down below, the hands break free, and now they rise from the muddy sea. Blood is oozing from every door, spilling out secrets that are held no more. All this comes from that one mistake, that extra piece of pie you ate. Good night, Larry.
Bret Harte by Edgar Allan Poe. True, nervous, very, very dreadfully nervous. I have been a man. But why will you say I am mad? The disease has sharpened my senses, not dulled, not destroyed. Above all was the sense of hearing acute. I heard all things in heaven and in the earth. I heard many things in hell. How then am I mad? Hearken and observe how calmly I can tell you the whole story. It's impossible to say how first the idea entered my brain, but once conceived, it haunted me day and night. Object, there was none. Passion, there was none. I loved the old man. He had never wronged me, had never given me insult. For his gold I had no desire. I think it was his eye. Yes, it was this. One of his eyes resembled that of a vulture, a pale blue eye with a film over it. Whenever it fell upon me, my blood ran cold, and so by degrees, very gradually, I made up my mind to take the life of the old man, and thus rid myself of that eye forever. Now, this is the point you may fancy me mad. Madmen know nothing, but you should have seen me. You should have seen how wisely I proceeded, with what caution, with what foresight I went to work. I was never kinder to the old man than during the whole week before I killed him. And every night about midnight, I turned the latch of his door and opened it, oh, so gently. And then, when I had made an opening sufficient for my head, I put in a dark lantern, all closed so that no light shone out. And then I thrust in my head. Oh, you would have laughed to see how I so cunningly thrust it in. I moved it slowly, very, very slowly, so as I might not disturb the old man's sleep. It took me an hour to place my whole head within the opening so far that I could see him lie on his bed. Would a madman have been so wise as this? And when my head was well in the room, I undid the lantern cautiously. I undid it just so much that a single thin ray fell upon the vulture light. And this I did for 7 long nights, every night just at midnight. But I found the eye always closed, and so it was impossible to do the work, for it was not the old man that vexed me, but his evil eye. And every morning when day broke, I went boldly into his chamber and spoke courageously to him, calling him by name in a hearty tone, and inquiring how he had slept the night. So you see, he would have been a very profound old man indeed to suspect that every night, just at 12, I looked in on him while he slept. Upon the 8th night, I was more than unusually cautious in opening the door. A watchman's minute hand moves more quickly than did mine. Never before that night had I felt the extent of my own powers. I could scarcely contain my feelings of triumph. To think that there I was, opening the door little by little, and he, not even to dream of my secret deeds or thoughts. I fairly chuckled at the idea, and perhaps he heard me, for he moved on the bed suddenly, as if startled. Now, you may think that I drew back, but no. His room was black as pitch, with a thick darkness, where he kept the shutters tight against robbers. And so I knew that he could not see the opening in the door, and I kept pushing it steadily. I had my head in, and was about to open the lantern, when my thumb slipped on the tin fastening. The old man sprang out of his bed, crying out, "Who's there?" I kept quite still and said nothing. For a whole hour, I didn't move a muscle. And in the meantime, I did not hear him lie down. He was still sitting up in bed listening, just as I had done, night after night, hearkening to the death watches in the walls. Presently, I heard a slight groan, and I knew it was the groan of mortal terror. It was not a groan of pain or grief. Oh, no. It was the low, stifled sound that rises from the bottom of the soul when overcharged with awe. I knew the sound well. Many a night, just at midnight, when all the world slept, it has welled up from my own bosom, deepening with its dreadful echo the terrors that distracted me. I say I knew it well. I knew what the old man felt, and pitied him, although I chuckled at heart. I knew he'd been laying awake ever since that first slight noise when he had turned in his bed. His fears had been growing ever since upon him. He'd been trying to fancy them causeless, but couldn't. He had been saying to himself, "'Tis nothing but wind in the chimney. It's only a mouse crossing the floor." Yes, he'd been trying to comfort himself with these, but he had found it all in vain. All in vain, because death, in approaching him, had stalked with his black shadow before him and enveloped the victim. And it was the mournful influence of the unperceived shadow that caused him to feel, though he neither saw nor heard, to feel the presence of my head within that room. When I had waited a long time very patiently without hearing him lie down, I resolved to open a very, very little crevice in the lantern. So I opened it. You cannot imagine how steadily, until at length a single dim ray, like the thread of a spider, shot out from the crevices and fell upon the vulture eye. It was open, wide, wide open, and I grew furious as I gazed upon it. I saw it with perfect distinctness, all the dull blue and hideous veil. It chilled me to the very marrow of my bones, but I could see nothing else of the old man's face or person, for I had directed the ray, as if by instinct, precisely on the damned spot. And now, have I not told you that my mistake for madness is but over-acuteness of the senses? Now I say there came a low, dull, quick sound, such as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. I knew that sound well, too. It was the beating of the old man's heart. It increased my fury, as the beating of a drum stimulates a soldier into courage. But even yet, I refrained and kept still. I scarcely breathed. I held the lantern motionless. I tried how steadily I could to maintain the ray upon the eye. Meantime, the hellish tattoo of the heart increased. It grew quicker and quicker, and louder every instant. The old man's terror must have been great. It grew louder, I say, louder every moment. Do you mark me well? I've told you I am nervous. So I am. And now, at the dead hour of the midnight, amid the dreadful silence of that old house, so strange a noise as this excited me to uncontrollable terror. Yet, for some minutes longer, I refrained and stood still. The beating grew louder and louder. I thought the heart must burst. And now a new anxiety seized me. The sound would be heard by a neighbor. The old man's hour had come. With a loud yell, I threw open the lantern and leaped into the room. He shrieked once only. In an instant, I dragged him to the floor. I pulled the heavy bed over him. I then smiled gaily to find the deed so far done. But for many minutes the heart beat on with a muffled sound. This, however, did not vex me. It could not be heard through the wall. At length it ceased. The old man was dead. I removed the bed and examined the corpse. Yes, he was stone dead. I placed my hand on his heart and held it there many minutes. There was no pulsation. He was stone dead. His eye would trouble me no more. If still you think me mad, you will think so no longer when I describe the wise precautions I took for the concealment of the body. The night waned, and I worked hastily but in silence. I took up 3 planks from the flooring of the chamber and deposited all between the scantlings. I then replaced the boards so cleverly, so cunningly, that no human eye, not even his, could have detected anything wrong. There was nothing to wash out, no stain of any kind, no blood spot. I had been too weary for that. When I had made an end of these labors, it was 4 o'clock and dark as midnight. As the bell sounded the hour, there came a knocking at the street door. I went to open it with a light heart. For what did I have to fear? There entered 3 men who introduced themselves as the police. A shriek had been heard in the night by a neighbor. Suspicion of foul play had been aroused. They were here to search the premises. I smiled, for what did I fear? I bade them, "Welcome, gentlemen." The shriek, I said, was my own in a dream. The old man I mentioned was absent in the country. I took my visitors all over the house. I bid them search well. I led them at length to his chamber. I showed them his treasures, secure and undisturbed. In the enthusiasm of my confidence, I brought chairs into the room. I desired them here to rest from their fatigues. While I myself, in the wild audacity of my perfect triumph, placed my own seat upon the very spot beneath which reposed the corpse of the victim. The officers were satisfied. My manner had convinced them. I was singularly at ease. They sat while I answered cheerily. They chatted of familiar things, but ere long I felt myself getting pale and wished them gone. My head ached, and I fancied a ringing in my ears, but still they sat and still chatted. The ringing became more distinct. I talked more freely to get rid of the feeling, but it continued until at length I found that the noise was not within my ears. No doubt I now grew very pale, but I talked more fluently and with a heightened voice, yet the sound increased. And what could I do? It was a low, dull, quick sound, much a sound as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. I gasped for breath, and yet the officers heard it not. I talked more quickly, but the noise increased. I arose and argued about trifles, but the noise steadily increased. Why would they not be gone? I paced the floor to and fro with heavy strides, as if excited by fury by the observations of these men. But the noise steadily increased. Oh God, what could I do? I foamed, I raved, I swore. I swung the chair up on the boards that I had been sitting. But the noise rose over all and continually increased. It grew louder and louder. And still the men chatted pleasantly and smiled. Was it possible they heard not? Almighty God, no. They heard it. They suspected. They knew. They were making mockery of my horror. This I thought, and this I think. But anything was better than this agony. Anything was more tolerable. I could bear those hypocritical smiles no longer. I felt that I must scream or die. And now again, louder, louder. "Villains!" I shrieked. "Dissemble no more. I admit the deed. Tear up the planks. Here it is, the beating of his hideous heart."
Holy, holy, favorite time of year. Holy, holy, can't wait till it's here. Holy, holy, my favorite time of year. And it's never done. Happy Halloween.
This happened in the winter of 1877 at Valley Forge. colonials was not going very well, George was about to throw in the towel and give it up. Here we go. This afternoon, as I was sitting at this table, engaged in preparing a dispatch, something seemed to disturb me. Looking up, I beheld standing opposite me a singularly beautiful female. So astonished was I, for I had given strict orders not to be disturbed, that it was some moments before I found language to inquire the cause of her presence. A second, a third, and even a fourth time did I repeat my question, but received no answer from my mysterious visitor except a slight raising of her eyes. Presently I heard a voice saying, "Son of the Republic, look and learn," while at the same time my visitor extended her arm eastwardly. I now beheld a heavy white vapor at some distance, rising fold upon fold. This gradually dissipated, and I looked upon a stranger scene. Before me lay spread out on one vast plain all the countries of the world: Europe, Asia, Africa, and America. I saw rolling and tossing between Europe and America the billows of the Atlantic, and between Asia and America lay the Pacific. "Son of the Republic," said the same mysterious voice as before, "look and learn." At that moment I beheld a dark, shadowy being, like an angel, standing, or rather floating in midair between Europe and America. Dipping water out of the ocean in the hollow of each hand, he sprinkled some upon America with his right hand, while with his left hand he cast some on Europe. Immediately a cloud raised from these countries and joined in mid-ocean. For a while it remained stationary, and then moved slowly westward, until it enveloped America in its murky folds. Sharp flashes of lightning gleamed through it at intervals, and I heard the smothered groans and cries of the American people. A second time the angel dipped water from the ocean and sprinkled it out as before. The dark cloud was then drawn back to the ocean, in whose heaving billows it sank from view. A third time I heard the mysterious voice saying, "Son of the Republic, look and learn." I cast my eyes upon America and beheld villages and towns and cities springing up one after another, until the whole land from the Atlantic to the Pacific was dotted with them. Again I heard the mysterious voice say, "Son of the Republic, look and learn." The end of the century has cometh. At this dark, shadowy angel turned his face southward, and from Africa I saw an ill-omened specter approach our land. It flitted slowly over every town and city of the latter. The inhabitants presently set themselves in battle array against each other, and as I continued looking, I saw a bright angel, on whose brow rested a crown of light, on which was traced the word Union, bearing the American flag, which he placed between the divided nation, and said, "Remember, ye are brethren." Instantly the inhabitants, casting from them their weapons, became friends once more, and united around the national standard. And again I heard the mysterious voice saying, "Son of the Republic, look and learn." At this the dark, shadowy angel placed a trumpet to his mouth and blew 3 distinct blasts. And taking water from the ocean, he sprinkled it upon Europe, Asia, and Africa. Then my eyes beheld a fearful scene. From each of these countries arose thick black clouds that were soon joined into one. Throughout this mass there gleamed the dark, red light by which I saw hordes of armed men, who moving with the cloud marched by land and sailed by sea to America. Our country was enveloped in this volume of cloud, and I saw these vast armies devastate the whole country and burn the villages, towns, and cities that I beheld springing up. As my ears listened to the thundering of the cannon, clashing of sword, and the shouts and cries of millions in mortal combat, I heard again the mysterious voice saying, "Son of the Republic, look and learn." When the voice had ceased, the dark shadowy angel placed his trumpet once more to his mouth and blew a long and fearful blast. Instantly, a light as of 1,000 suns shone down from around above me and pierced and broke into fragments the dark cloud which enveloped America. At the same moment, the angel upon whose head still shone the word Union, and who bore our national flag in one hand and a sword in the other, descended from the heavens, attended by a legion of white spirits. These immediately joined the inhabitants of America, who I perceived were well nigh overcome, but who immediately, taking courage again, closed up their broken ranks and renewed the battle. Again, amid the fearful noise of the conflict, I heard the mysterious voice saying, "Son of the Republic, look and learn." As the voice ceased, the shadowy angel, for the last time, dipped water from the ocean and sprinkled it upon America. Instantly, the cloud rolled back, together with the armies it had brought, leaving the inhabitants of the land victorious. Then once more I beheld the villages, towns, and cities springing up where I had seen them before, while the broad angel planting the azure standard he had brought in the midst of them cried with a loud voice, "While the stars remain and the heavens send down dew upon the earth, so long shall the Union last." And taking from his brow the crown on which blazoned the word Union, he placed it upon the standard, while the people, kneeling down, said, "Amen." The scene instantly began to fade and dissolve, and at last I saw nothing but the rising, curling vapor I at first beheld. This also disappearing, I found myself once more gazing upon the mysterious visitor, who, in the same voice I had heard before, said, "Son of the Republic, what you have seen is thus interpreted. Three great perils will come upon the Republic. The most fearful is the third. But in this greatest conflict, the whole world united shall not prevail against her. Let every child of the Republic learn to live for his God, his land, and the Union." With these words, the vision vanished, and I started from my seat and felt that I had seen the vision wherein had been shown to me the birth, progress, and destiny of the United States. I believe this is apropos for these times now. Thank you.
Blessing on the hand of women, angels guard its strength and grace. In the palace, cottage, huddle, oh, no matter where the place, would that never storms assailed it, rainbows ever gently curled, for the hand that rocks the cradle is the hand that rules the world. Infancy's the tender fountain, power may with beauty flow, mothers first to guide the streamlets from the little soul's unresting glow. Grow on for the good or evil, sunshine streamed or evil hurled, for the hand that rocks the cradle is the hand that rules the world. Women, how divine your mission here upon our natal sod. Keep the young heart open, always to the breath of God. All true trophies of the ages are from mother loved and peril, for the hand that rocks the cradle is the hand that rules the world. Blessing on the hand of women, fathers, sons, and daughters cry, and a sacred song is mingled with the worship in the sky. Mingles where no tempest darkens, rainbows evermore are hurled. For the hand that rocks the cradle, the hand that rules the world.
The Ballad of Blasphemous Bill Mackay by Robert Service. I took a contract to bury the body of blasphemous Bill Mackay, said Tongue Twister. Whenever, wherever, or whatsoever the manner of death he die. Whether he die in the light of day or under the peak-faced moon, in cabin or dance hall, camp or die, mucklucks or patent shoon, on velvet tundra of Virgin Peak, by glacier drift or draw, in Muskeg Hollow or canyon gloom, by avalanche fang or claw, by battle, murder, or sudden wealth, by pestilence, food or lead, I swore on the book I would follow and look, till I found my tombless dead. For Bill was a dainty kind of cuss, and his mind was mighty sod, on a dinky patch with flowers and grass, in a civilized boneyard lot. And where he died, or how he died, it didn't matter a damn. So long as he had a grave with frills and a tombstone epigram. So I promised him, and he paid the price in good Chicheco coin, which the same I blowed that very night down at the Tenderloin. Then I painted a 3-foot slab of pine. Here lies poor Bill Mackay, and I hung it up on my cabin wall, and I waited for Bill to die. Years passed away, and at last one day came a squaw with a story strange of a long deserted line of traps way back on the Bighorn Range. Of a little hut by the Great Divide, and a white man stiff and still, lying there by his lonesome self, and I figured it must be Bill. So I thought of the contract I'd made with him, and I took down from the shelf the swell black box with the silver plate he'd picked out for himself. And I packed it full of grub and hooch, and I slung it on the sleigh. Then I harnessed up my team of dogs, and I was off on that day. You know what it's like in the Yukon when it's 69 below? When the ice worms wriggle their purple heads through the crust of the pale blue snow. When the pine trees crack like little guns in the silence of the wood. And the icicles hang down like tusks under the pocket hood. When the stovepipe smoke breaks sudden off, and the sky is weirdly lit, and the careless feel of a bit of steel burns like a red-hot spit. When the mercury is a frozen ball, and the fiend stalks to kill, well, it was just like that the day when I set out to look for Bill. Ah, the awful hush that seemed to crush me down on every hand, as I blundered blind with the trail to find through that blanking bitter land. Half dazed, half crazed in the winter wild, with the grim, heart-breaking woes, and the ruthless strife for a grip on life that only the sourdough knows. North by compass, north I pressed, river, peak, and plain. Past like a dream I slept to lose, and I walked to dream again. River and plain and mighty peak, and who could stand in awe? As their summits blazed, he could stand amazed at the foot of the throne of God. North, I north, through a land accursed, shunned by the scouring brutes, and all I heard was my own harsh word in the whine of the Malamutes. Till at last I came to a cabin squat, built in the side of a hill. I lost my place. And I burst in the door, and there on the floor, frozen to death, lay Bill. Ice, white ice, like a winding surf, sheathing each smoke-rimmed wall. Ice on the stovepipe, ice on the bed, ice gleaming over all. Sparkling ice on the dead man's chest, glittering ice in his hair, ice on his fingers, ice in his heart, ice in his glassy stare. Hard as a log and trussed like a frog, with his arms and legs outspread, I gazed at the coffin I'd brought for him, and I gazed at the gruesome death. And at last I spoke. Bill liked his joke, but still gulped down his eyes. A man ought to how to consider his mate the way he goes and dies. Have you ever stood in an Arctic hut in the shadow of the pole with a little coffin 6 by 3 in a grief you can't control? And that seems to say, you may try all day, but you'll never jam me in. I'm not a man of the quitting kind, but I never felt so blue as I sat there gazing at that stiff and studying what I do. Then I rose and kicked off the husky dogs that were roaming round about, and I lit a roaring fire in the stove, and I started to thaw Bill out. Well, I thawed and thawed for 13 days, but it didn't seem no good. His arms and legs stuck out like pegs, and as if they were made of wood. Till at last I said, it ain't no use. He's froze too hard to thaw. He's obstinate and he won't lie straight, so I guess I'll have to saw. So I sawed off poor Bill's arms and legs, and I laid him snug and straight in the little coffin he picked himself, and with the dinky silver plate. And I came nigh near to shedding a tear as I knelt him safely down. Then I stowed him away in my Yukon sleigh, and I started back to town. So I buried him, as the contract was, in a narrow grave and deep. And there he's waiting the great cleanup when the judgment's loose head sweep. And I smoke my pipe, and I meditate in the light of the midnight sun. And sometimes I wonder if there was the awful things I've done. And I sit as the parson talks, expounding of the law, and I often think of poor Bill and how hard he was to saw.
Maybe 15 to 20 years ago, and it touched my heart really deeply, and the author is anonymous, and it's called Look Closer, See Me. What do you see, nurse? What do you see? Are you thinking? What are you thinking when you look at me? A crabby old woman, not very wise, uncertain of habit with faraway eyes, who dribbles her food and makes no reply when you say in a loud voice, I do wish you'd try. Who seems not to notice the things that you do, and forever is losing a stocking or shoe. Who, unresisting or not, lets you do as you will, with bathing and feeding, the long day to fill. Is that what you're thinking? Is that what you see? Then open your eyes, nurse. You're looking at me. I'll tell you who I am as I sit here so still, as I use at your bidding, as I eat at your will. I'm a small child of 10 with a father and a mother, brothers and sisters who love one another. A young girl of 16 with wings on her feet, dreaming that soon now a lover she'll meet. A bride soon at 20, my heart gives a leap, remembering the vows that I promised to keep. At 25 now I have a young son of my own, who needs me to build a secure, happy home. A woman of 30, my young now grow fast, bound to each other with ties that should last. At 40, my young ones have grown and have gone, but my man's beside me to see I don't mourn. At 50, more babies play around my knee. Again we know children, my husband and me. Dark days are upon me, my husband is dead. I look at the future, I shudder with dread. For my young are still rearing young of their own, and I think of the years and the love that I've known. I'm an old woman now, and nature is cruel. 'Tis her jest to make old age look like a fool. The body it crumbles, grace and vigor depart. There is now a stone where once there was a heart. But inside this old carcass, a young girl still dwells, and now and again my battered heart swells. I remember the joys, I remember the pain, and I'm looking and living life over again. I think of the years, all too few, gone too fast, and accept the stark fact that nothing can last. So open your eyes, nurses, open and see, not a crabby old woman. Look closer, see me.
Everyone just did a wonderful job, and we really appreciate sharing with us this evening. We do have, hot off the press, a new edition of the Dusty Daily. If you'd be interested, we're charging 50 cents, and it's right up here next to our pumpkin. So while you're having coffee and something sweet, if you have an extra 50 cents, we'd like you to take our new paper with you. Again, we thank you for coming and thank you for sharing. It's interesting to hear the different pieces that were read tonight. It gives me a better understanding of who you are, both neighbors and friends, and it's very, very special for me, and I'm sure for our young people to see, especially parents, grandparents, come and share. For Mr. King and Mrs. King, our board people, wonderful, dedicated community people, we thank you for sharing. I think this is your 3rd year, and we really appreciate it. Anyway, thank you, and we hope to see you maybe next year, God willing. Okay, so if you'll hit the light, somebody back there.
Where's the stop? No, wait, hold on.
See it rewinding.
No, it said it's recording.